something like covering potency. और कौन था एक बार वापस हाथ ऊपर करे, किसको जानने में रुचि है? Most of you are covered. ठीक है. So we'll be taking few shlokas also, ताकि थोड़ा बहुत connected रहे from this particular text, we can say. तो सबसे पहली बात ये है कि हम लोगों को ये आइडिया कहाँ से आता है परफेक्शन का? And also the important question, let us say, what I have to ask is, English या हिंदी क्या comfortable होगा आप लोग? हिंदी कौन ऐसा है जिसको इंग्लिश अच्छे से नहीं समझ आती? हाथ ऊपर कीजिए. 1 2 3 4. जिसको भी नहीं आती हाथ ऊपर कर सकता है अच्छे से, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. So बिल्कुल भी नहीं आती?
थोड़ी बहुत तो आती है.
Let's say if I speak like this, you can understand?
Yes.
Okay, this you can understand, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. आपको मुझे पूरा नहीं आता? बिल्कुल भी? बोलिए, डरिए मत. गुनाह नहीं है इधर. ठीक है, तो मैं I'll try to adjust थोड़ा बहुत. या कोई एक जन ट्रांसलेट कर सकता है, so it will be better. I mean, someone can translate to him, तो इसको ट्रांसलेट कर सकता है जो होती है. Call that through. अरे through उनको बुलाएं ना बात. किसी एक डिवोटी को बुला के इसे ट्रांसलेट करा दीजिए, सो दैट यू नो, बिकॉज हम लोग का ऐसा होता है मॉर्निंग में हिंदी सेशन होता है एंड इवनिंग में इंग्लिश होता है. अब बाद में मुझसे कंप्लेन आने लगी क्योंकि आपको इंग्लिश सेशंस देते हैं बट आप हिंदी में करना है, दैट विल बी बिट डाइसी. सो द श्लोका व्हिच वी आर गोइंग टू टेक टुडे, और लाइक यू नो व्हिच वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग इज फ्रॉम Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text number 10. Prabhu, you can translate him if possible, that devotee who is sitting in the last devotee. Okay? So, I'll recite this particular shloka. Okay? And then, after reciting, we will chant Mangalacharan, the auspicious invocations, praying for the blessings of the Vaishnavas, of the Acharyas, and the Supreme Lord, so that, you know, we will be able to, you know, at least discuss something on this, or at least present some discussion which has already been, you know, done. So, shloka is as follows. Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva ror madhye pranam aveshya samyak satam param purusham upaiti divyam. So, the translation and purport to this particular shloka is given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I'll read the translation. One who at the time of death fixes his life air between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnana-Timirandasya Jnana-Jana-Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pamukam Vede Girim Yatpalam Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandavaram Shri Chaitanya Devam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Radha-Padam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarjatam Saragana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanasetam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Amritamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srimadi Paschata Deshitarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaurachyava He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavadhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusate Devi Pranamami Te Mancha Kalpataru Vishya Kripasindhuve Vichapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare आप अपने आप को म्यूट कर सकते हैं, 2 स्पीकर्स एक क्लास के लिए अच्छे नहीं हैं. So we'll go ahead with the puppet maker, puppet पढ़ लूँगा, then we'll start discussing. Puppet. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise their life force between the eyebrows to the Ajna Chakra. The practice of Shakra Chakra Yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness, at death he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga balena is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Shata Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life. So, this is the prophet. Very small but informative, right? So here what we are seeing from this very purport, what Srila Prabhupada is writing is that the most important thing in life is how to die. This is what is being highlighted here. But if you see one more thing, which is much more important, you can see that actually the only important thing in life is to remember Krishna, but especially at the time of death. Everyone is dying, left and right, everyone is dying. So what do you all think? Is that the most celebrated event of one's lifetime? When someone dies, do we celebrate? No. But in Vaishnava culture we do that. Because life and death is something which is same for a Vaishnava. That's why the Avirbhava and Tirobhava Tithis are celebrated equally. But we must have a particular understanding because a devotee, in case of very advanced devotees, let's say, it's a different concern. But someone who's a devotee, for him there's no question of this. Similarly, our main goal is what? That we must remember Krishna at the time of death. That's the main point. Also, as per our consciousness, the kind of consciousness that we are having at death, we get that similar kind of body, right? Let's say if we have a spiritual consciousness, we get spiritual body. And if we have material consciousness, then we get material body. But even in material body, there is variety. So this variety is actually mentioned in text 14.18. So what is given here, we will just read the shloka, or let's say we will just read the translation, right? So the translation is as follows. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward. That means to the heavenly planets, right? Those in the modes of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. So this is what is given. But now, even if we look at it, let's say someone has cultivated this particular spiritual consciousness throughout his lifetime. But let's say there is a trace of material contamination in his consciousness. So what happens, he again has to kind of, come to this earthly planet. That's the whole point. And now, one may argue, that what's the point of spiritual consciousness then? It's said that you go to the higher planetary system. But here also, in human form of life, he gets what? He gets an higher birth, which is also mentioned in one of the texts. I'll read it, which is 6.41. So we'll read it. This translation are actually, because you can quote something, but then again, for your reference, you all can just note it down that where these things are mentioned. These are really helpful. Let's say if you want to go back and revise things, right? So here it's given. Let's say someone who's trying to cultivate, spiritual consciousness, but there is still material contamination left. So here also Krishna says, he says that the unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Because let's say he is attaining the higher planets, but that higher planets is also in the realm of material world. That's the whole point. So let's say he enjoys, but again he has to come back. Now what my question, he got a higher birth, then again he's coming back. But his coming back is not normal. That is also mentioned in the text 43. Let's say if he comes back to the earthly planets, then what position he gets in that particular birth. So he is given, on taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Guru. So this was 6.43 for your reference, you all can read. Similarly, even Srila Prabhupada said that, all his disciples, they were practicing, spirituality in their previous lives. But because they didn't perfect it, that's why they are here. So they shouldn't make the same mistake again. That was the, kind of message, or what Prabhupada used to say. So similarly, what we come to understand is this particular human body that we have. Every one of us sitting over here has a human body. Anyone who doesn't? Someone hiding in the corner or something like that. We all are having human form of body, right? Similarly, this is a very important crossroad. You all understand what's a crossroad? Where two roads are crossing. As simple as that. You just exchange and you get the meaning. English is funny and simple language, you can say. Similarly, we should take the right turn, right? If we have got a human form of body and we don't take a right turn deciding, what must be done with this human form of body, then the result is kind of going to be abominable. What a blunder that we have made. We won't even be able to understand because you won't remember your mistakes. Let's say we all have taken this human form of body. That itself is a proof that we got a body previously. Alright? That's why we got this body. Most of us, or all of us have traveled all those 84 lakh species of life forms, and then we have got again this human form of body. That means what? We had committed some mistakes in past lives, and then we are again over here. How many of you all remember what mistake you did because of which you all are here? No one. So how are we going to fix that mistake? Let's say someone is coming over here and then for some times and again going out, okay, let me enjoy more. I know I've heard in the lecture that this is not correct. But who sees I have so much time, and then again it's another chance we have seen in this shloka, 6.41 and 43, that even if one is unsuccessful, he goes, enjoys, comes back, takes birth in aristocratic family and everything. So Krishna himself is saying you'll have another chance. So any one of you who is waiting for that another chance, thinks that we have chance like that. Anyone? Most of us, right? Most of us. That's why no one is raising hand. You all have that, just like that little contamination because of which the living entity comes back. You all have that. Not little, it's much more, because we are able to see the more we practice devotional service, the more that cutting goes away. Just like when we start cleaning the room, the more deeply we clean, the more dust comes out, right? But if I look at it like this, there is no dust. But once I start cleaning, there's so much dust, right? Similarly, whenever we are outside, when we were not practicing, most of you all would have experienced those who are coming regularly for some period of time. You all may be thinking, when I was outside, it was way better. But from the day when I was kind of enrolled by some devotees in this self-excellence program, I'm coming to see how dirty my mind is, how dirty my consciousness is, right? That is what we are coming to see. How abominable my lifestyle is, what bad habits I have got. These habits are so bad. But when we were outside, for us those very bad habits were what? The normal way of living. Because people around us were like that, the whole culture is like that, the whole society, you can say practically, is like that. Because unless and until we do these things, we won't be accepted in the society, or we'll be someone who's not much kind of, you can say, into the society, into that whole culture, into that whole scene. That is what we can see. So we can see that if one doesn't act for purification in this human form of life, then again, he'll be pushed down for millions of lifetimes into different species. It's not one lifetime. For us, our lifetime is, let's say, a normal person right now is living around, if he is very good, eating healthy and everything, and this is 80 years max to max. 100, we say average, but in reality you can say 80 years, 23 years old, 22 years old are getting heart attacks nowadays. You can see in the news and kind of read the reports. And by certain period of time, people are developing cancers, different anxiety-related problems, or something like that. So let's consider an average of 80, right? And then this is what your lifetime is. How many of you all are about 20 here? About 20. 20 साल से ऊपर कितने लोग हैं आप में से यहाँ पे? 20 years? Well, at least we can say 50% of us. Then again, someone who's around 80. So how much time we have left? More 60 years, you all think? How many of you all are sure that we will be living for 60 years ahead? You think you'll be living 60 years?
I think so.
And that's speculation, surety. I'm asking for surety. You all think, okay? So one person is, kind of like that, okay? Out of these many people, one person. So can be ruled out, right? Out of these many people. So because we don't know what is going to happen the very next moment. So if we see that, all these different life forms, like the insects, the trees, the animals, they are kind of, what they are doing when they come into that particular lifetime is life form, we can say, that they are just burning up their karmas. They don't get karma, right? Whatever they are performing is, they are just burning up their karma. For example, we humans in this human form of life, which is meant for actually realization of the Supreme Personality of God, realization of that, or developing the love for Krishna, we don't do that. So our life is similar to them, or we'll be again getting those kind of life. And you can see, because of the desires that we have, so much desires we are having, those desires will be coming at the end of our life. And those will be the reason of our next birth. Let's say, we can see, the scorpions and snakes, right? So these scorpions and snakes, they kind of bite without reason. Even if someone goes, you're just walking by mistake, you keep your foot on them or something like that, or they are in the vicinity, they see something which is foreign, they rush towards it and bite it, that's it. But you can just imagine they are having so much envy, and they can't tolerate such envy. So similarly, what is very evident over here, that in their previous life forms, they had so much envy for people. That envy led them to this particular life form. But in this life form, they don't get any karma. They are just enjoying the fruits of their karmic activities. Right? So similarly, we also have envy. We also have envy for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why we are here, because we were not satisfied seeing Him enjoy. We all wanted to become enjoyer. That's why we came to this material world. So little Ishwara trying to enjoy these things, we can see. Similarly, what we can see is that if one understands the purpose of this human form of life and tries to attain, this permanent or complete solution for all these problems, then the life is sorted, right? So how many of us are trying to, kind of are endeavoring to get that solution? I will say most of all, you all are trying, right? That's why you all are here. You all are trying, at least endeavoring for it, to get freed from this particular thing, knowingly or unknowingly. We'll elaborate on that, right? So, getting freed from the problems of life, that is what we said, right? These all problems. So what are the problems of life? Can anyone state? Anyone? What do you think is problematic in this particular lifetime?
Distress.
Distress? Okay. That's most scriptural answer.
Desires.
Desires?
Old age.
Old age? Okay.
Disease.
Disease? Same thing, single बोल रहा है. And in English. और कोई कुछ बोलना चाहिए, दो और बचे हुए हैं. So anyone from the back? या पिकनिक मना रहे हैं आप लोग पीछे बैठ के छोटा सा. आप लोग यहाँ आ सकते हैं. Come in, friend. Yeah. सामने आ जाइए ना सामने. So मैं आप लोग का हाथ देख पाऊंगा तो कुछ डाउट होगा नहीं. You can sit in the back and you can continue the translation. Translation सुनिए आप लोग. अभी taking class in English. So if we see from the material and selfish point of view, what are the problems? It's birth and death. Selfish ना? अपने बारे में सोचने के ये body का birth हो रहा है, death हो रहा है. This is the selfish point of view. In the Shastras, you know, there are even higher levels when these problems which are addressed. Old age disease, and we can say there are uncounted and unlimited distress in this. You can say unlimited ways, uncounted, unlimited, and you can say everything. एक ही टाइप का distress नहीं होता, एक ही टाइप की death नहीं होती, एक ही टाइप का birth नहीं होता, right? कितना उसमें कितने unlimited ways हैं, different ways. So that is what is mentioned over here, In the Shastras, you can say what is Shastra mostly comprising of. Most of the Shastras is Jnana Kanda. Even if we see our very own Bhagavad Gita, there is a section of Jnana Kanda. Mostly it comprises of the Jnana Kanda. The most important thing is to know Krishna. Everything, the whole conclusion, the highest level of knowledge is what? To understand Krishna. That is the goal of all Vedic literature. Similarly, what is this knowledge by which we understand Krishna? Can anyone say? What is that called?
Krishna means black.
No. What is Krishna in us? What is the knowledge by which we kind of know Krishna? What is that called?
Devotion.
Exactly. It's Bhakti. That is what it is. Tanpura se aapka answer confirm ho gaya. Some Shastrik song. So this is the whole point. Bhakti is the main thing. Cultivation of Bhakti. But if you see Bhakti is also on different levels, There are different aspects of Bhakti. So to highlight that, there are three things. Let's say the first thing comes is Sambandha Gyan. What is Sambandha Gyan? That our relationship which is practically everything. Everything. For us, it's everything. That what we are living entities, we are part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we are meant to serve Krishna. We are His eternal servants. This is our definition, or we can say the Sambandha. And anything which we conceive, which is apart from Krishna, has no relationship with us. That's the whole point. There's no relationship. But from one sense, you can say that everything which is existing has a relationship with us, because everything is connected with Krishna. So we have to develop that kind of, you can say, vision by practicing Bhakti. And again, let's say, after being trained how to act in that particular relationship, what is that called? That stage is called Abhideya. Right? And then, Prayojan is what? Actually attaining that perfect and realized state. After serving, that we are now eligible to enter the realm of love for Krishna. That is called Prayojan. There are three different levels. Similarly, this very Bhagavad Gita is meant to establish or guide us, or gives us the knowledge of the very first stage, which is Sambandha Jnana. Bhagavad Gita is giving us Sambandha Jnana. And here, you can say, in this particular shloka, what is Krishna speaking about? Krishna is speaking about how to get free from birth and death. That is what is being said. Because Krishna is teaching how, at the time of death, by fixing his consciousness in the middle of the eyebrow, that is what the prophet had said in the shloka that we are taking today, is how we get free from birth and death. But a devotee at the very advanced level doesn't care about it. For him, getting freedom from birth and death is not that important. Now then, what's the point of discussing all this? Then why is Krishna saying this? how does one get free from birth and death? Because you see, a devotee transcends this stage of birth and death as soon as he practices or tries to become a devotee. Everyone at their natural position is a devotee. Someone might find, this statement contradictory. That, a devotee transcends this stage at the point when he starts or when he tries to become a devotee. So in the start also he is a devotee, and at the end also he is a devotee. So how can we understand this contradiction is, at the initial stage he is unaware of it. But the moment he is trying to practice bhakti, the more and more that state is being revealed to him. That what he is actually a devotee of Lord Krishna. He is a servant of Lord Krishna. That is what is being established over here, right? So how do we understand this? There are so many devotees. Even we say that the acharyas, and there are so many devotees that are not from this material world. Just like we say, the Lord, it seems like he takes birth, but his body is not material. Similarly, the devotees who are sent by the Lord, they might seem like ordinary beings, but even they don't have this material body. So that's why in the case of very advanced devotees, or advanced devotees we can say, or to speak of very advanced devotees, we never say that they went back home, back to Godhead, because they were always in Godhead. They were never away from it. That is what we'll have to understand. Okay. Now, we being conditioned living entities, we all are conditioned, right? How many of you all think that someone is not conditioned? और आप में से कितने लोगों को लग रहा है कि आप conditioned नहीं हैं? कोई है ऐसा? But what is the meaning of conditioning? Conditioning का अर्थ क्या है ये पता है? कितने लोगों को पता है what it means to be conditioned? Anyone can say? No one.
Yes, to be in dependence, to be in constant dependence of something.
Okay. Dependence, or much more we can say, being inflicted by the three modes. Conditioning is what? When we are, kind of into three modes, and our whole perception is according to those modes. Just to understand through a simple example, is just like when we see kids, kids they go to the fair and there are various shops. So there are glasses, right? Different colored glasses. So this whole world is what? There is, vivid colors are there. But when he wears a glass, let's say if he is wearing a green glass, so everything he sees is green and shades of green, right? Something he may see black or something like that. Taking that aside, but he thinks that everything aside means green. Similarly, when a person is in a particular mode of, these different so-called material modes of nature, his thinking is like that only. He is limited to that particular vision, that particular perception, and his knowledge is kind of limited. That is called conditioning. Right? You may see there are certain topics someone can grasp very easily, certain concepts for someone will be very, very difficult, even though it's simple. Right? So that is because of one's conditioning. So that is what conditioning is. Right? So what we are conditioned living entities, and what we are thinking is happiness. To be happiness is actually our miserable condition. That's the whole point. हमें लग रहा है this is something which will give me happiness, but that is the most miserable condition. Just like we can see, for a child to be born is the most painful thing. But the people around him, they become happy. And similarly, in some cases, you may find, a death for a person may be much more relieving than living on that hospital bed. But for others, it can be very painful. So this is a very contradictory thing, right? Similarly, the Lord is teaching us what? That how do we become from both of these things, birth as well as death? How do we become freed from it? And this whole chapter only, if someone has read Bhagavad Gita, how many of you all have read Bhagavad Gita entirely? Anyone? How many of you all have Bhagavad Gita? Most of us. So those who are not having, they can take your hands down. So this whole chapter is teaching us what, that how mechanically, through mechanical methods, we can get freed, or we can be situated in Him, as Krishna, through mechanical means. That's why He's telling us that you focus your this thing on that. Actually, this is all the, you can say, one of the yogic processes, right? So, if you look at the very end of this chapter, what Krishna says, that those who are fully situated in Krishna consciousness, for them there is no need of following these processes. That is what he is telling. You can say that at the same time Krishna is propagating one thing, that you can attain me by this method. But then he is telling that a devotee who doesn't practice and who is just trying to kind of surrender himself to me, he is not practicing anything, he is also able to attain. So why is Krishna preaching this? At the same time he is telling that how by there is all Ashtanga type of different kind of yogas he can attain. But at the same time he is telling someone who is practicing Bhakti Yoga, he doesn't need to do like that. That is the assurance which is given by Krishna in the very end of this particular chapter. Why we are talking about these things? Like, what he is saying in the scriptures. Because the ultimate goal of any, you can search out anything, the goal of Vedic teaching is what? Developing love for Krishna. That's the ultimate goal. It's not like, there are people who just take one part of it, let's say Dhyana part, and then they open an institute and they are just teaching the Dhyana part. Right? Someone may take Jnana part and then through their whole lifetime they are practicing the Jnana part. That's it. But if you read the whole Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is saying what you have to ultimately do is fix your consciousness in me. After explaining everything, because there are varieties of people, there are varieties of devotees, we can say, right? That for them there are different, just like in our education, modern education system, there are different branches, right? Although they are all part of a single demoniac culture. But then there are different branches, and someone is inclined much more to one branch rather than one branch, right? Similarly, the Lord is giving all the possible ways through which one can attain Him, get freed from this birth and death, right? But what He is impressing more upon is the actual method, wherein He states that this particular human life is very vulnerable. And it is very important for us to understand that we should not underestimate it. Right? And what we see around us is, unfortunately, most of the people are doing so. Right? Most of the people are doing this. And let's say, what about looking at people outside and then kind of, judging them? We can say, even among us, there are devotees who know that Krishna is our Supreme Lord, and we know so many philosophies, or so much at least about Krishna consciousness. Still we are committing all of those mistakes. Right? We are taking this human form of life as granted. That's the whole point. Especially in this Kali Yuga. So what is mentioned in the Shastras, let us see. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12. And just open it so that we can read it as it is. And chapter number 3, text number 51. Right? Here can also, if possible, someone's using a phone. We can see. So the shloka is as follows. Kalera dosha nidhe rajan asti he eko mahan gunaha kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha parampraja. So what is said over here? That although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, right? Ocean of faults is, how do we say that there's so much, there's ocean of faults, how do we kind of judge that? हमको कैसे पता चलेगा? What's the, how can we say that this is ocean of faults? We are seeing everywhere we can say around us that there's so much construction going on, the nation is developing, so much good trade is coming, such a good business, the GDP is growing or something like that. Everything positive we see outside. So where can we see that we are living, we are actually in a very miserable state? How can he see that? Anyone? कभी आप लोगों ने प्रयास किया हम लोग अंदर बाहर कभी देखने का कुछ? It's just like just like a horse in a race. ऐसे उसको लगा दिया जाता है 2 बट्टे और फिर उसको course दिखता है. You can just see the racing track. Only knows that. Doesn't look left, doesn't look right because his vision is blocked so that he doesn't get distracted. Similarly, we also हम लोग के साथ भी यही किया गया. We have also been kind of focus. So many motivational speakers come and they say that this is what you have to do, this is how you have to. But ultimately, just by stopping your cognizance, you think that you are becoming more focused or dedicated to your goal, but it can act vice versa. You are unaware of the surrounding. The people doing engineering courses back in the day, I remember. And then everyone was, the demand for mechanical at that point of time was so much that people till date are doing mechanical. But now the IT industry is in boom. And then these mechanical people, just for information, I have also done mechanical. So everyone is moving to IT, AI, and all different sectors. And because these are really adaptable so-called engineers, there's, you can say, so much unemployment resulting for that. People are studying for the course but not getting it. So the whole point is what, that we can see there's so much misery outside. And His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj in one of his lectures, he says there's a simple formula for it. Let's say if someone is in the house, if he wants to find, where is misery, so if he has a window, which is very rare at least in Mumbai, most of the houses they just have doors, windows, छोटा सा वेंट होता है जिससे एग्जॉस्ट निकलता है, बस वही होता है विंडो, और तो ऐसे दिवाली होते हैं. तो अगर कोई फॉर्चुनेट है जिसके पास दीवार है एटलीस्ट, सो दीवार के बाहर देखे वो, देयर आल्सो ही कैन सी मिजरी, और वो एक बार दीवार के इस पार अंदर देखे तो भी उसको मिजरी दिखे. सो देयर इज मिजरी एवरीवेयर प्रैक्टिकली टू से. इफ समवन हैज कॉन्शियसली ट्राइड टू सी इट. अभी आप लोग अगर घर जाएंगे या आप किसी भी खिड़की को बैठो, बस में ट्रैवल कर रहे हो, बस के अंदर बैठो, बस के अंदर देखो आप आसपास और बस के बाहर देखो, you will just see that you won't see someone who is dancing on the street. सब लोग ऐसे बैग पकड़ के मुंडी नीचे करके भाग रहे हैं अपनी बस के लिए, अपनी ट्रेन के लिए, कोई टेंशन में, कोई पसीना साफ कर रहा अपना, कोई कुछ कर रहा, कोई कुछ कर रहा. Everyone is in distressed condition of life, but it is just that we are so much engrossed in our very own self that we fail to see these things. That's the whole point that we have to understand. So this is what is given over here, But then again, what is said over here that asti hi eko mahan guna, and this guna, this quality is so good that it actually supersedes all the other qualities, or bad qualities we can say, so called of this particular age, the Kali Yuga. And what is that? Simply by performing Sankirtan, which is mentioned over here. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Raje. So, what is this Kirtan about? Is about the names or the holy names of the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So, just by performing this Sankirtan, one's all best interests can be served, which are actually required. That is what we have to understand. And one can be freed from all the bad qualities. Now, by performing yoga, one can say, it's very dicey. One can be successful, or there is most of the chance it's failure only. But by performing the Naam Sankirtan, one can be freed from this material world and he can attain much more than liberation. That is what we have to understand. And just to understand this, there's this very nice analogy which is given in the scriptures, is that this material world is explained, or it is said like a very great ocean, such a great ocean of miseries, and we are unable to cross it. And this particular ocean is infested with all the dangerous life species like the sharks, piranhas, you can say. And these are, just like there are sharks and everything. In this ocean of misery, there are so much great miseries. There's just like we discussed, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, so much miseries, and we are in the middle of this ocean. So, by taking the shelter of the holy name, we can cross it. And how we can cross it? We can cross it very easily. Very easily. It's just like it's said in the Shastras that it becomes as easy as crossing the water contained in the hoof print of a calf. जो बछड़े का खुर होता है, गाय का भी नहीं, जो बछड़े का खुर होता है ना, इतना सा होता है, बहुत ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा. एक इतना बड़ा ओशन जिसका हमारे अंदर कैपेसिटी भी नहीं उसको पार करने का. When we take the shelter of the Supreme Personality of God and His holy name, it becomes so easy that as if you are crossing this hoof print. मतलब उसके लिए आपको उसके अंदर जाने की भी जरूरत नहीं, एक पैर यहाँ डाले, एक पैर यहाँ डाले, पार हो. It becomes as easy as that. That's the whole thing. So simple. So, let's say, even in this material world, we see people, who say what? That, let me work hard, I'll gain money, then I'll do charity, I'll perform different yajnas, and I'll perform austerities, and then, that is the success of the human form of life. But, it is compared as like, one is walking in the sun, right? And then, he sees a small cloud is coming and he takes shelter of the cloud and he feels the relief. So similarly, performing all these different things in one's lifetime may give him some relief, but it is as good as coming under that small cloud which is fleeting. For a few minutes it will be there, again it will leave. So the very goal of human life is not to come under that cloud and stand. That is not the goal, that is what we have to understand. The real goal is what? To become permanently freed from this. That is the whole point that we have to understand. The solution is not just standing under the cloud. That is what we have to do. Similarly, what we have to do, or what the practical thing is, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is what we have to chant. Now, was there any anxiety in chanting this? Any strain? कुछ गले पे तकलीफ हुआ, थोड़ा बहुत हुआ होगा, कहीं दर्द हुआ. But let's say if I tell you, you stand on your one leg for many thousands of years, raising your hand up. Anyone can try doing it at least for 15-20 minutes. And tell me how much easy it was. Was it as easy as just taking the holy name of the Lord, or was it difficult? So these yogic processes, they're very difficult, and no one can say, what can go wrong. That is what you have to understand. But similarly, just by chanting, you can attain this great merit. And again, we are so fortunate, we are born in this era where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, along with his associates, he comes and he inaugurates this Sankirtan movement. Right? And then again, his Senapati Bhakta, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he comes, he gives the holy name. Again, let's say most of us have not met Srila Prabhupada. How many of you all have met Srila Prabhupada? No one, right? See, one devotee. Even I have met you. How many of you all read Srila Prabhupada? Then you have all met Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's books are the same thing. That is who Srila Prabhupada was. Srila Prabhupada dedicated his practically entire lifetime preaching and writing the books, the message of God. He preached, everything was kind of, even in Srimad Bhagavatam we can say after the 10th canto's 13th chapter, starting from the 14th till the end, till the 12th canto, everything is mostly from the Acharya's commentaries and the lectures which Prabhupada has given and the books which Prabhupada has already written. So the purports are taken from that. So that is who Srila Prabhupada is. And you can find, or you can try searching the whole Vedic scripture. There are so many people, who say that, you do this particular type of yajna, you will get this benefit. You do this particular process, you will get this benefit. You can, kind of go through all the Vedic scriptures and you won't find anything spiritually as potent as chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because it has the potency to destroy all the contamination, all the material contamination. Right? Wrong. This is not why the spiritual, this holy name you can say, no? The name of the Lord is, chanting of the holy name is so much glorious. It is glorious because when we chant, we develop a little love for Krishna. And just by cultivating that love, we can attain Krishna. Attaining Krishna is re-establishing our relationship, going back home, back to Godhead. Right? That is what we have to do. Going back home, back to Godhead. Our preaching His message as per the instruction, which is given by our spiritual master. Engaging ourselves 24/7 in the service of Krishna. Remaining Krishna conscious, throughout our existence. That is our perfection of life. This is what we have to understand. So we'll end with this over here. Any devotee who has any questions, we are open for the questions now. 7:30 आप में से किसी का कोई प्रश्न है? इसका कोई प्रश्न नहीं. This class was not that complex, simple class. Okay, so I guess we'll end here. If no one is having any question, आप में से किसी का कोई question नहीं है. जय गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.